Hi guys, my name is Patricia and today I'm going to be demonstrating the power clean. So the power clean is going to be an Olympic lift that uses the trapezius in the back. Then we have the deltoid in the shoulder. We're going to have the major muscles, the quadriceps, hamstrings, and the calves. Okay, and we're going to be using the major joints, the elbow to catch the bar, our wrists, and our knees. So first, I will just demonstrate the full movement and then we will break it down. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the initial starting position. So first, your feet are going to be flat on the floor. They should be between hip and shoulder width apart with your toes slightly outward, okay? And then second, you're going to squat down with your hips like this, and you're going to grab onto the bar. Now, because I have no weights, and this is an easy bar, it's just for demonstration, but typically the bar will be past your toes, just about an inch away from your legs. So it should be really close to your body. And then the type of grip we're using. So for the heavier loads, a hook grip is usually recommended. So that's where you're going to grasp the bar, but your thumb will go under your fingers, so not around the bar itself. So that does help with the stronger loads. But right now for demonstration, I will just be using a closed pronated grip. So my palms will be facing down. So we are going to grab the bar, and your arm position on the bar will be about a little bit wider than shoulder width apart. Your arms should be outside of your knees, and your elbows will always be fully extended, pointing outwards. Okay? So it should look like this. And then your back should be at a neutral position. You should not be overextended and you should not be bent like this. Your shoulders should be back and your head forward, eyes forward. So start like this. All right, you guys, so now that we're breaking it down, it should just be noted that the power clean is performed all together. So there is no real like separation of the movements. They aren't like 4 or 5 movements that are put together. So I was breaking it down just to show you guys with some transition phases. So the first one that I'm going to be demonstrating is going to be the first pull with the beginning of the first transition phase. So the first pull is basically just picking up the bar from the ground, and you're just going to extend your knees and hips, right? So you start with the initial position that we already went over. So the bar should be past your toes, an inch apart from your legs. Your hands should be the pronated or the hook grip, and your elbows will be pointing outwards, fully extended, back neutral, head forward, eyes forward, right? So grab onto the bar, and all you're doing is extending your knees and your hips to pick up the bar. So up, okay? And then the first transition phase, we're just gonna be doing the beginning of it. So all you do is extend your knees and hips more, and you begin to thrust your hip forward. Not completely yet. So all together, it's just gonna be basically picking up the bar a little past your knees up into like the bottom thigh area, and your arms should still be extended, knees forward. Head forward. So like this. And if I show you from the side, so starting from here, and we just Alright, you guys, so now that I've demonstrated the full movement, we're going to be breaking it down. So the first two parts that I'm going to be showing you is going to be considered of the first pull and then the beginning of the first transition phase. So the reason I'm putting those two together, or 1.5 movements together, is just because it makes it a lot easier to demonstrate, rather than doing the first pull and then the transition and then the second or the next movement, which would be the second pull. So we're going to do the first pull and the first part of the transition phase. So basically, we're going to start at an initial position, right? So the bar past your toes, your feet should be flat on the floor, a little bit between the hip and shoulder width apart, toes slightly outward, and then your arms, you're going to grab the grip with the hook grip, right? Arms and elbows extended, elbows pointing outwards, head facing forward, back neutral position. So you start here, and all you're going to do is you're going to extend your knees and your hips. So you don't want to extend your elbows, you flex your elbows, and you don't want to pull back and shrug your shoulders to pick up the bar. So your hips should do most of the lifting. Your hips should extend before your shoulders. So to demonstrate, right there. And then the beginning of the first transition phase, you're basically just picking it up above your knees. So if I demonstrate from the side, so we start right here, grab the bar, and basically just, okay. So one of the common errors that people will do is they will pick up the bar with their elbows too soon. They can also shrug their shoulders to pick up the bar or their elbows, and you don't want to do that. Right now it doesn't seem too wrong because it's a light bar, but with the heavier loads, what that will do is that will cause a decrease in the power, so it will be harder to actually pick up the bar when you're supposed to flip and put it onto your deltoids. So again, the correct way, make sure your elbows are always extended and pointing outwards. And this can actually be practiced with doing the Romanian deadlifts, the RDLs. So that could be used as a progression exercise, progression workout to practice this. Because your knees and legs are not fully extended when you pick up the bar yet. They're still slightly bent. So that could be a progression exercise. Okay, so now that we've gone over the first pull and then the beginning of the transition phase, we are going to start there and finish the transition phase and then do the beginning of the third movement, which is the second pull. So we start back where we left off, right? So in the RDL position, elbows pointing outwards, still fully extended. And the end of the transition phase is basically just extending your knees and hips while thrusting your hips forward. So basically, you're going up like this. And then the beginning of the second pull is where you're going to fully extend and your elbows start to shrug upwards. So this is going to help you, when it's performed all together, the momentum and have enough power to completely pick up the bar. So if we put it all together from the first pull to the beginning of the second pull, you're going to start at the bottom, the same initial position, right? And so you're just going to pick it up and completely extend and thrust your hips forward while beginning to start shrugging your shoulders up. So at this point, your elbows should still be fully extended and their elbows should still be pointing outwards. If I show you again from the side, so we're going to start again from the initial position, and you're going to go up, extend your knees and hips, your hips should start thrusting forward, and your elbows still pointing outwards, but your shoulders will start to shrug up a bit. Okay, so we've gone over the first few movements, right? So we have the first pull along with the transition phase and into the second pull. So now I'm going to be showing you the end of the second pull along with the last movement, which is the catch. In order to do that though, I will be starting from the transition phase. So we're going to be starting in the RDL position, right? So right here, your knees and legs, well, your legs in general should still be slightly bent, right? We're not fully extended yet. And then as you start extending, you're gonna start thrusting forward. Your elbows should still be pointing outwards, still extended, and you start to shrug. So the end of the second pull is actually a full thrust, and your elbows will start to bend because you're gonna start to pull the bar up. As you do that though, and then into the catch, so you're going to extend, and you might perform a small jump. So the heavier the load, the more efficient or proficient the jump will actually be in order to help you pick up the bar. Okay, so when you pick up the bar, if I just show you from the side, the bar should land with your elbows parallel to the floor, so they should be pretty high up, but the bar itself should not be on your wrist. If you place all the weight on your wrist, that could cause injury, which is another common mistake. So you want to make sure that when you flip the bar up, that it's actually along like your clavicle with most of the weight on your shoulder, or like the deltoid area, okay? So again, if we start from here, we're going to go up, and as you extend your knees and hips, thrust forward, your elbows start to flex while your shoulders shrug up. So if I show you the full movement from the initial position, right? We're going to go up, twist, jump, and then up. So when you perform the jump, you notice I squat a bit. So if I show you from the side, we're going to go up, thrust, down. So we are going to be in a quarter squat position. So we're not going to be squatting all the way down, and we can't just jump up and don't squat, because the heavier the load is, the more you're going to cause injury if you don't squat, right? You can't just pick up all that weight without any momentum. That small momentum will help you. And then when you fully extend your knees and hips at the end, that's actually the end position. So if I show you the full movement all together again, make sure you start in the correct position always. And we're going to go to the first pull, into the transition phase, then transition into the second phase, up, squat down, and then up. Make sure, see, I just made a common mistake. Elbows should be always parallel to the floor. So they should be up here with the bar like this. So from the side again. Okay, so I've shown you step by step how to perform the power clean, right? And I've demonstrated it, the full movement. Just the only thing is, for demonstration purposes, I've been using an easy bar and no weight. It does get kind of difficult though with heavier loads. And so in order to practice that, there are some progression exercises. I mentioned one earlier, the RDL, which can help you practice the initial position and the first pull, right? So another progressive exercise that can be useful is practicing like racking up the bar onto your shoulders, because that is really important, right? Keeping your elbows up and putting the weight, the majority of the weight onto your clavicle and deltoid area and not on your wrist. So to practice that, one progressive workout is just practicing racking the bar, right? So you can just practice picking up the bar and putting it here onto your shoulder area. If I show you from the side, just racking the bar up. So basically you just up. And this should be practiced with no weight, since there's no momentum into it, and you're just practicing basically bending your elbows and picking the bar up. Your elbows should stay parallel, your elbows and arms should stay parallel to the floor at all times. And then another progression, another workout that can be performed would be the front squat. So that's performed after you already know how to rack the bar onto your clavicle and deltoid area. So the front squat would help practice maintaining the weight onto this area and not your wrists. And then it would also help you maintain your balance while you perform a squat, right? So you make sure your elbows, show you from this side. So you already learned how to rack the bar up. So just up. And then the front squat, you're just squatting with the bar. So you just down. So for the power clean, it's not going to be a full squat, but the performing or practicing the front squat will help you practice with the weight in this area, and it will help you maintain your balance. Okay. And once you've learned how to rack the bar onto your shoulders, and you know, or you can perform a front squat correctly, and you know how to do an RDL, you can practice an easier version or like one of the variations of the power clean, which would be the hang power clean. And it's basically all the same movements, except the bar does not start on the floor. The initial position is actually with the bar hanging. So you're actually going to start with the bar up in the air, but your arms and elbows are extended, elbows are still pointing outwards. You just start right here. And there's actually different variations of that hang power clean, and you can start below the knees, you can start at the knees, and you can even start in the RDL position, which would be right here in like the lower thighs. So you can practice those variations to make it easier, and as you start getting the hang of it, you can go lower and lower until you're actually starting from the floor. And some common mistakes, I did mention earlier that some common mistakes that are performed would be the bending of the elbows too soon or shrugging the shoulders too soon when picking up the bar, right? You want to keep your elbows fully extended until the very last minute. This will help your power when you're trying to actually pick up the bar. So those are common mistakes, and you just have to remind yourself or the other individual to just keep your elbows pointing outwards, and when in this position and fully extended, you can actually tell them to flex their tricep. So that can help to actually remind them and keep them with their elbows just fully extended, you know? And then another common mistake that I actually haven't mentioned is just the bar being set up too far away from your body. So the bar, as I mentioned, it should start in initial position past your toes and should be very close to your body. Like, it shouldn't be further than an inch away. So if you actually start with the bar farther away, so if I was to start with the bar right where it is right now, which is in front of my toes, what that does is that when I begin to pull and I actually start extending my body and the power that I exert is actually going to go horizontal, it's going to go outwards first, and then it's going to go straight back up. And so if I demonstrate from the side, if I start with the bar too far away from me, then as I pull and then I go up, it actually does not move vertical. So it moves outwards and then it goes inwards so I can thrust. And what that does, it actually also decreases your velocity, which will affect your power. So you're spending more of your energy, not the energy, but more of your power and speed on actually just bringing the bar back into your body and into your hips so you can thrust. And so that decreases the power, so it'd actually be a lot harder for you to pick up the weight and perform the movement correctly. Okay, so now that we've gone over the common mistakes and the different progressive workouts, I will just demonstrate the whole power clean movement once more. Okay, so again, feet flat on the floor, about between the hip and shoulder width apart with your toes out. You're going to grab the bar with either the hook grip or the closed pronated grip, elbows out, shoulders straight, back in a neutral position, elbows pointing out, right? So, and if I show you from the side, and that's it. So thank you, and hope you enjoyed my demonstration video.